Going to try to tell some more stories. I started a new playlist, a storytelling playlist, because they're all in kind of genres, you know. And the next ones are going to be when I was in institutions, and I look back on my time there, and there have been instances where I know that God protected me from something happening bad. That the outcome was going to be bad if God hadn't stepped in. And it wasn't so much like some magical force redirecting, you know, the slings and arrows to miss me like a force field. None of that. It was more along the lines of people's minds being affected and doing stuff that they probably shouldn't have done, you know. Like the Bible talks about how God affects people's minds to protect folks from the people out to get them. Jesus did it a lot. But I've had the same experiences, and I'm going to tell some stories about it. The first one that I'm going to talk about, I was 17 years old, and I was in Lubbock, Texas. I'd been going in and out of foster homes and children's shelters for quite a few years, like a couple years. But I was 17. Pretty much 15, I was kicked into the system. When I was 17, I started reconnecting with my mom a little bit. And she let me move back in with her. She had an extra room in her house. It had its own, it was nice too. I had my own room. It had its own entrance going through the carport. So I could go hang out at the carport, and it was just like my own little house. And I had a couple of friends that I'd grown up with over the last couple of years in foster homes and stuff. We'd gone through the same foster homes and children's shelters. And they were twins named Gary and Larry. And they were around, and they were kind of homeless. And so my mom was letting them, like, they could come into my room, and we were all camping out in my room. And I had a little job, you know, working at a waterbed factory, which was pretty cool. Didn't pay that much, but I was making enough money to give my mom some money and buy myself food and stuff. And Gary and Larry had food stamps and welfare. Wasn't much, but it was something, you know. So they were just buying a bunch of groceries and putting it in my mom's house and giving her a little cash to help pay for bills. And then I was giving her cash, so it was all good. One night, we pretty much stayed out of the rest of the house, though. We'd go to the bathroom and use the kitchen and stuff, but we just stayed in the room, and most of the time we were out anyway, you know. We just come in there to go to sleep. But one night my mom decided we're gonna have movie night, you know, the whole family. The first movies were like, I can't remember what they were, but they're like family oriented because of my little sisters, and then they went to bed, and then we were watching more adult movies, like we watched One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, which is kind of ironic if you, as you'll find out with how this story goes. And then later on, she's like, okay, I'm done. After that movie, she's like, I'm going to go to bed. So me, Larry, and Gary watched, there's a movie called Escape from New York. And we were watching that one. It was like a really popular movie at the time. You know, we had a VCR. You know, VHS. Back then you couldn't really. It was expensive to buy one. We just rented one. You'd go to the video store, and you could rent a VCR and get some cassette. You know, some VHS tapes. And so we were watching Escape from New York like a couple times. On the second time, well, we took acid, and we had some pot. Okay, we all dropped. We had a tab of acid each, and we took it. And we were going out in the carport and smoking weed. But like after we'd watched the movie, like the second time, I think we had The Thing too. We had a bunch of movies. But it was like 1 o'clock in the morning. We were just on acid, staying up all night. My throat started hurting really bad. And so I went to the bathroom with the flashlight. What the hell's, just started coming on really strong. And I shined a flashlight in the back of my throat and looked at it, and there was all kinds of pus pockets. Oh God, I'm telling you, man, something's wrong with my throat. And I was describing it. Gary and Larry were looking back there. It looks like strep throat. We've seen that before. Damn, that's real contagious. Shit. And then about an hour later, I started feeling sick as a dog. They're like, dude, we need to tell your mom and get you to the hospital. I'm like, no, let me come down off this acid first. And I just went to lay down, and I fell asleep. Gary and Larry are like, later on, I talked to them later on about this, and they're like, dude, you don't fall asleep on acid. We knew something was up. But, you know, you kept telling us, let me come down off the acid first, then I'll go to the hospital. Anyway, the next, right around sunup, they're kind of trying to wake me up. Hey, Jeff, let's wake your mom up. And I wouldn't wake up. So they went into my mom's room and said, hey, something's wrong with Jeff. My mom came in there, and when she came in there, she saw me. I don't know, she couldn't wake me up. And she was thinking, he's on drugs or something, you know. She started going through my drawers, and she found the pot. She was really easily tolerant about it, but she was kind of like, she was changing her ways or something. She'd gone on like the straight and narrow. She was going to AA or whatever. And now all of a sudden I was supposed to go on it too, you know, the straight and narrow path. And she told Gary and Larry, I'm calling the cops. I think it's a good idea you guys get out here and don't come back, because I'm getting him. He won't. Okay, I'm going to call the ambulance. I'm going to get the 911. And so my mom just packed up. She didn't want my sisters there when the police showed up to take me to the hospital. And so she packed them up and left after she called the cops. Then I woke up. I'm looking around. There's nobody there. I'm like, what the hell? I go to the front door. I'm looking out. All of a sudden the police pull up. What the hell's going on? They start walking up. You Jeff? I'm like, yeah. Turn around, put your hands behind your back. I hadn't done anything, you know. I'd looked and all the weed was gone. So I was like, what the hell's going on, man? You know, she usually didn't bother me about smoking pot or whatever, or drinking, you know. Maybe she could, but I knew she's kind of flaky. So, oh God, and all of a sudden she wants to make a big deal out of this. That's not what they were there for. My mom had flushed the pot down the toilet, got rid of it. She didn't tell them about that. She just said I was sick and she couldn't wake me up. And I was like, if she tried, I'd just like, leave me alone. And she wanted me to go to the hospital. They're like, how you feeling? I don't feel good, you know. They took me to the hospital. And because they had to call the cops, they put me in the psychiatric unit, the county psychiatric unit at the hospital in town. I had strep throat. And so they had to give me antibiotics, shot in my butt cheeks for the strep throat. And a couple of doctors came in over the next week and talked to me. And next thing I know, I was in a state mental hospital. The very first, when they drove it to the state mental hospital, Big Spring State Mental Hospital in Texas, I was talking to the doctor. And he's like, what do you want to be called? He's asking me whether I want to be, really what he was asking is, do I want to be called Jeff or Jeffrey? And I'm like, just call me Snake. Because we just watched that movie, Escape from New York. And I wanted to be Snake Plissken, you know. And he's like, oh, you know, we're not going to do that. It's Jeff or Jeffrey. But if you want to be somebody else besides who you are, don't worry about it, because I'm going to make you into my creature. It sounded pretty sinister. And in my mind, I'm thinking, that's exactly what's not going to happen. You're not going to do anything to me. And I was determined not to make it to be the person I wanted to be, no matter what he tried. Anyway, I'm in the state mental hospital. The first thing I noticed is that everybody else in there, get out of here, spider, I won't crush you, is that I'm the only person in the whole unit, and there's like 50 kids in there that's not on medication. Everybody else is doped up to the gills. Everybody. So, but what they were doing is doing extensive testing on me. They take me into a room and put on, it was the latest technology. It went out of favor really quick, but it was like a laser disc. It was the size of an LP, a little bit bigger actually, and thicker. It looked like a CD, except way bigger. And they're putting, I don't want to crush that spider. They were putting movies on for me to watch. And they were creepy movies, like documentaries. Old from the 50s, Highway Patrol, you know, movies from car wrecks, war documentaries, but not like you see on the Discovery Channel or History Channel. It's like raw footage with lots of dead bodies, all mutilated, lots of badly injured people getting dragged. It was creepy. Like executions. Weird. Okay? And then they do these long tests with like 2,000, 3,000, 4,000 questions. And a lot of them were the same questions. It was the same question over and over again, but just worded differently, to where they try to catch you giving a different answer, even though it was the same question. Test after test after test. Finally, they eventually stopped doing that. And they put me in GED class. Well, one of the people that was in the unit with me and in GED class with me was a girl that was like, I was 17, she was 16, her name was Bonnie. She was really good looking. She was boom, full-figured girl, big green eyes, strawberry blonde hair. She was beautiful. We liked each other. So we started like sneaking off to the bathroom and making out. We've been doing this for a couple of weeks. We were like boyfriend and girlfriend, But she was real strict. She said, we'll just go in there, we'll make out for a couple of minutes, we got to get out of here, I don't want to get caught. Okay. But I fucked up. One day, she was sitting down, and I walked up behind her and wrapped my arms around her and started snuggling her ear. One of the staff walked in and saw us doing that. Hey, what's going on here? You and you, go back to the unit. We got escorted back to the unit. What happened is they tried to ask her, hey, he was doing that without you wanting him to, right? They were trying to make it sound like I'd forced myself on her. And she was like, wasn't going to do that. She's like, no, we've been making out. And they're like, you can't be, that's against the rules. You're going to have to lose all your privileges too, just like him. So they're trying to like dangle, you're going to get in trouble if you don't cooperate with what we're trying to do. And she wouldn't do that. And also they questioned all the other kids in the unit, and especially the ones in the GED, and are asking them, hey, what was going on with that? And they're like, nah, they're girlfriend and boyfriend. And they're like, there's no girlfriend and boyfriend in here. That's not allowed, blah, blah, blah. Bottom line is, they had to back off of that and go, okay, she was allowing him to do this. She was cooperating with him. It was consensual. But she was pissed because she told me not to do that, and I'd gotten her in trouble. So she's just like, nah, you got me in trouble. You're not my boyfriend anymore, basically. But it upset me, the whole process of them trying, because I realized, damn, they were trying to make it sound like I was some kind of, forcing myself on her, and she wouldn't cooperate, and everybody else, they knew it wasn't true. They knew that, come on. They knew that we're kids and we're trying to, rushing hands and roaming fingers and kissing off when nobody's looking. But anyway, continued with the GED. I lost a lot of my privileges, but eventually I regained them. And I turned 18. And they started taking me to counseling. Because this is a psychiatric hospital, and the psych doctors are the top dogs. But there were psychologists, therapists. And they were taking me in and having me talk to one. There was group therapy. And then there was one, I'd go in and I'd talk to one-on-one. And I've been doing that for a couple weeks. The thing is I was 18, but I was still in the adolescent unit. And so that happens, that you can stay in there till you're like 21. But you're not supposed to go outside of any of the locked units and out to go anywhere by yourself. But the people in this office that I was at knew that I was 18, and they just assumed I was in the adult unit, and you can walk away by yourself, not being escorted, and just go back to your unit. And they just told me to go back to my unit by myself without being escorted. I took off. I went running, and started running across fields. Through the cotton fields. I didn't go out to the road right away because I knew they'd notice I was missing pretty quick. Where's Jeff? He's supposed to be back in the unit from his counseling. And so it's not like a full like dogs and horses and like helicopters. They don't really search for you. They just put an APB out, unauthorized, leaving from the mental hospital. And I walked for like 30 miles through the cotton fields. And eventually I went out to the road and hitched a ride into Lubbock. And you might be asking, what was it actually that, that God helped you in this situation that prevented you from having really negative outcomes and like helped you out? It's not putting me on the drugs. It's called chemical lobotomy. And so it saved me from being permanently disabled from psych medication, especially the ones they had back then. This is like 1983. So I know that was God's hands, because there's no reason why did the doctor not destroy me with the drugs? That's why. His mind was changed by God.